The following broadcast is brought to you by the iGolf Sports Network.
Golf Talk Live is sponsored by the iGolf Sports Network and Golf Tips Magazine. Here's Andrew to tell you more about our sponsors.
iGolf Sports is a live stream broadcast and media production company providing quality programming designed to attract the golfing enthusiast. And Golf Tips, the game's most in-depth instruction magazine, including reviews on the latest equipment, tips from top teaching professionals, all designed to help you improve from tee to green. Welcome to Golf Talk Live with your host, Ted Odorico. Join Ted each week as he speaks with some of the best in golf. This week's special guest will join us a bit later. But first up is another great discussion on Coach's Corner. So let's introduce tonight's Coach's Corner panel.
All right, welcome back, everybody. And as I said, it's time to bring on this evening's featured guest. I'm very excited to have her back on the show, and it's actually under our new format, so I get to see her this time as opposed to just hearing her on the audio, if you will. So I get to actually have a face-to-face, so to speak, here on the broadcast. So of course, I'm talking about Nancy Robitaille. She is the chief designer and also lead brand strategist for Swing Control. And she's a very fashion-forward golf and lifestyle apparel. Swing Control is a company and has expanded the scope of veteran designer and, as I mentioned, Nancy, role to include brand manager now. In this new dual capacity, she will continue to lead the creative direction while taking on broader responsibility for the brand's strategic growth and development. And since joining the company in 2023 as a lead designer, she has infused Swing Control collections with her signature blend of polish, performance, and modern femininity, which I just love to death. So please welcome back to the show, Nancy Robitaille. Nancy, thank you for joining me tonight.
Ted, thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. And I think the best way to sort of start things off is maybe if you could give us just a brief overview of Swing Control as a company, just so that we have for those that maybe didn't hear the first few times that you've been on the show, maybe you could just talk a little bit about Swing Control, who they are, how they got started, where they're located, and just sort of bring us up to where we are today, and then we'll get into some more specifics.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Swing Control, actually, we're based in Montreal, Canada. It was started in about 2009, and we started as a women's bottoms company. We did amazing job with that. We were producing in Canada, so all the product was coming out of Canada. And about 2016, they decided to kind of expand into the golf market. It was a really good time to make that move, and they continued with the pants. And they created these pants that were pull-on pants, like slip-on pants, but we have like a tummy control that is built in. So they're incredibly comfortable. They're very easy to wear all day. And then as we grew with the pant collection, we decided to add tops and grow with that. So when I came on in 2023, my objective was really just to kind of grow the golf market and to bring us into a more golf-centric atmosphere, creating collections that women want to wear all day, that we can wear at the office, go play golf, go out for drinks after, or go have dinner with the family. Things that are very easy to wear all day and that stay crisp and clean. Also, the idea was to bring in more fabrics that were functional, so moisture wicking fabrics that were easy to wash and dry, that kept their shape, that were, SPF 50, so they covered you when you're outside in the sun all day. So all of those things I'm trying to bring into the forefront, and while still creating a really cohesive, fun, and beautiful collection.
It's interesting because, when I look back at where golf fashion was, even 10, 15, maybe 20 years ago, everything was pretty much 100% cotton or some cotton blend. And as you sort of alluded to, that there's so many different materials now that are coming in, moisture wick and so forth. And I'm obviously certainly no expert on it, but, there's just so many other things, the flexibility. When I remember years ago buying, golf shirts as a man, one of the big things was keeping the collars looking nice. When you had to wash it, again, being 100% cotton, everything would shrink all the time, so it would never stay, and it would get all. And men are obviously not as fitness or as fashion conscious as women are, but we like to look good out in the golf course too. When your stuff is all skewed, and when I look at the technology, and it is really technology that is coming into the fashion business now, it just blows me away, and just how great the wearability is and so forth. So I want to ask you something, because this always just amazes me. So you guys have really grown over the years. You mentioned 2009, I think I heard you correct,
Yes.
is when things sort of got started up in Montreal. Beautiful city, by the way. For the listeners out there, if you've never been, you need to hop your behinds up there, because it's a beautiful city. But you guys have grown rapidly over the years. How do you manage to stay on top of the current trends? I mean, everything changes so fast in every industry, but particularly in your industry. How do you guys manage to stay on top of things?
So it's a lot of research.
Yeah.
It's a lot of research, just like anything else. It's the glamour aspect is about 1% of it, and the fun of it is about 99% of the research is really fun. So what I do is I really pay attention to what's happening overseas, Europe. Asia is another, what's coming out of Asia, especially as far as fabrics are concerned. What's happening, say, in Germany, Switzerland, just Israel has incredible fabrics. So all of those things are in my day-to-day life. Like, I'm always conscious of what's happening. I read a lot of newspapers. I'm very up on current events, because I have to know if we're developing the products, say, in Vietnam or China, what our tariffs are, how long is it going to take to get here? Are we going to have issues with, bringing the product in from the factory? How long is it going to take? Is there going to be a delay somewhere along the lines? So all of those things I have to be aware of, and I have to let the team know, let's be conscious of this. And we're all very conscious of it. As far as the fabrics are concerned, the most important thing is comfort and the hand feel of them. If they don't feel good, I really won't put it into the collection. And most importantly, we added for 2025, we added what we call the air spun pant, which it's a really high end take on, say, a sweat pant, but it's just very clean, very stylish. And again, with the tummy control, because all of our pants still have the tummy control in it. And whether you're a size 0 or you're a size 16, it's really comfortable, and it's something that's easy to wear and to get used to. I wear a lot of our pants in the office along with our tops, but the pants too, and I combine them with button ups and things like that. So the combination and the comfort really works for me. It has to work for me to put it into the collection. It has to be comfortable. I literally try on every sample that we have that comes through the door. I make sure that it fits properly. I make sure that it's comfortable. I make sure that the length is correct. So I'm very, very hands-on. And I think that makes all of the difference, because I can immediately tell the team if there's a problem or if we need to adjust, and we can adjust on the fly. So as far as, say, like when the way collars fall, especially for women, because our collars we can have collars, or we can have like almost an open neck with just a very short band collar. We have to make sure that it doesn't fall too low if you bend over and pick up the ball. Sure. If our dresses are too short, they're not comfortable. And we also have their little shorts that go underneath with the pockets. So all of those things are very, very important to keep, to kind of keep in the back of my mind. And I just am constantly watching what people are wearing. Montreal is a very fashion forward city. I could just walk outside our building and see the most amazing streetwear you've ever seen. So all of that kind of goes into the day-to-day process of how we design the collection.
And it's interesting, because it kind of brings me to this thought here. And you sort of answered it, but I just want to maybe get you to expand a little bit more on it. And you said that you obviously try things on. You want to know, hey, if it's going to work for me, then I'm going to certainly consider putting it into the collection. If it doesn't, not so much. So have you ever looked at a design that's come through, or even maybe looked at fabrics and thought to yourself, not so much? And if so, I mean, you don't have to get specifics, but what you indicated some of the criteria, but when that happens, is it mainly because it just doesn't feel right? or you don't think it's going to look right, or it's not going to be as functional as what you hope? Like, what are some of the real top criteria that you look at to make or break whether something's going to get into the line, besides obviously you feeling comfortable?
Good question. So what happens is when we receive samples, first of all, I send in my designs to the factory. We send them overseas. They create samples for us. So what sometimes designs on paper look fantastic, but once you get them into fabric, they really don't. That's happened before.
Yeah.
Sometimes I create pockets that have different welts in the back of them, different colors. When you put it on, it looks like you have two eyebrows over your bum. I mean, it really, I mean, we found that out this year. That looked horrible. That went out the door really quickly. But the idea was, it was a really great idea on paper. So it's visual, it's fit, it's whether the buttons, like, even though they're pull-on pants, we'll do like a faux fly, and we'll do a button fly. How does this work? Does it fall properly? Is it centered? That's another one. Like, can they get the fly centered? Make sure that it's perfectly even. There, it's just a little details. It's how it sits on your body. We also this season, which I thought was really fun, is we put a little bit of elastic in the ends of our pocket openings. So what happens is, if you put your hands in the pants pocket, it gives you a little bit more stretch. So that also gives you a little bit more hip stretch. At the end of the day, if you've worn the pants for all day, or for a good 6 to 8 hours, your whole body expands by the end of that time. What that does is it gives you more comfort and more stretching. It makes the fabric move with you better, and it makes the fabric and the garment more comfortable. So we added that into all of our skirts and our pants this season, and I love the idea of it because they can be colored. We can contrast the color. We can make them matching. We can do all kinds of things with them, but it's really a functional item and piece that we've added to the bottoms that make it better and more comfortable for long time wear.
And just play devil's advocate, I guarantee it, there would have been somebody that would have worn those pants, even with that look. There's always something for somebody, but I get that. Now, I was just curious because when you think about it, people don't really appreciate what goes into putting together a line like yours. I mean, when we look at it, we say, well, that's pretty simple. I mean, I don't see what the big deal is. But then when you put it on and I mean, obviously you have a men's collection. I'm not going to put on the women's wear, but people are looking at it and they're saying, okay, this is a very simple design, but it's comfortable. I can mix match, I can wear whatever. And that's very important to a lot of people this day and age. We're going to talk about that in a moment, but I want to ask you something as far as demographically. Traditionally, obviously women have dominated the fashion market as far as steering where trends go and things like that. And I think more and more men are starting to take a bigger role as far as that. But are you seeing also other demographics like age? Are you seeing a younger generation being more influential in lines like yours now are coming through? And are you having to pivot to that, or are you still pretty traditional in, and I don't mean, when I say mature women, I'm not saying necessarily 60 above or anything, but typically with golf attire, when it first came in the market, it tended to stick to a more older demographic, but now you're seeing a lot of younger trends coming into the lines. Is that something that you guys are looking at seriously, or have been looking at, or has that always been part of Swing Control?
Well, it's always been part of Swing Control, but the demographics have changed a little bit. So before it was more of a Missy line when we were doing bottoms. So Missy meaning anywhere between like 40 and 65.
Yeah.
Now we're looking at something in our age between 30 and 55. So gotcha. Yes, it does change. And one of the key things that changed just recently is the skirt length. Skirt lengths have been predominantly 20 inches to 18 inches. Well, now you're looking at skirt lengths going up to 16, 14, and 12 inches, depending on the course. And we're seeing a lot of, depending on where you are in the country, the skirt lengths change dramatically. It depends on which course you have. If you're playing a more traditional course, your skirt length would probably be about 20 to 18 inches. But if you're playing at a more progressive course, your skirt length is 16 to 14 inches. So we're seeing a lot of the ladies change that length, being more comfortable wearing a shorter length. It's easier to, I'm not going to say it's easier to walk in, because obviously all of them are very comfortable to wear, but they do, the fitness level has changed quite a bit. So I think women that play golf are usually have a tendency to be fairly fit and active, and they do want to show off their bodies.
Sure.
So we've really kind of put that into the collection, where we've shortened our dresses a bit. Our dresses are about 35 inches long, so that's from the top of the shoulder to the end of the bottom of the dress. And we've also shortened the skirts. So predominantly our skirts are 16 inches. We do have requests for longer ones, but we also have requests for shorter ones too. So I'm for right now, I think the sweet spot is about 16 inches. We'll stay probably close to that, but we will offer a longer length as well. So yes, the answer to the question is yes, we do watch what happens with the younger generation, what they're asking for, what they're wearing, consistently watching what's going on in the market, but trying to really find that fine line between what's really fashionable and then what's comfortable and what can actually be worn on the course. We still have to consider that it is a golf collection.
Right.
What can we put out there that can be worn and that can be sold in the pro shop and the ladies feel comfortable wearing?
And it's interesting because when you look at the trends over the last decade or so in golf in general, you're seeing more and more women coming to the game than ever before. I mean, if you look at the National Golf Foundation as an example, I mean, most of the new, now it may have changed in the last year or so, but for a long time, it was anywhere from 35+% of all new golfers were, or actually it was probably higher than that. And I think it was a third of those were in that sort of sweet spot of the 30 to 55 now, whereas before it was traditionally older women that were getting into golf because their husbands were playing or whatever. And believe it or not, as tragic as it was, COVID played a role as well, because, as you know, up in Canada and here in the States, everybody was in lockdown mode for a while, and golf was one of the very few activities that you were permitted to get out and do whatever. And it brought a lot of people in that never were exposed to the game. And I've noticed in women's golf particularly that it's become more fashion forward in what they wear out in the golf course. They want to look good. They want to look good. They feel good. They're young. They're youthful. What have you. Their vitality is there, and they want to get out there. And it's not just about playing. It's about looking good while playing. So I can see that's going to be, as time goes on, that's going to be more and more of a progressive move as well. And even the young guys are getting a little more trendy out there too than what some of the old guys like me were 30, 40 years ago. So I can see that changing things as well. So you mentioned a couple things that were new for this year's lineup, but what are some of the biggest changes this season compared to, say, last season?
Some of the biggest changes are definitely the more skirts that we have, the shorter the length. We're really using that across the board. It's more about, I wouldn't say so much about changes. It's more about using what we know is going to work for everyone, and what we've tried and tested and found true to what is swing control. So it's more about comfort. We've really pushed the envelope as far as dresses are concerned, because dresses are really new for women in the market. So we did this really cute little polo dress for last season with the little shorts that matched. And this season we're adding on to the dresses, but they're a little bit more off-course dresses. So they're really fun to be worn in the morning when you're going to the office, and then you can go play. So we're doing things that are a little bit more fashion forward, as opposed to sport centered, where the BK dress was really sport centered. So those things we're working on, but basically really it's keeping the comfort level high and using the fabrics that we know that are actually, comfortable working, wash well, wear well, that print well. I create a lot of the prints that we do for our collections. So I'm very conscious of that as well. And I go from really large prints to in some areas to very small ones that are, little hand drawings. So those things are most what we're doing for 2026. We did this really cute, kitschy little dress with big hearts on it and golf balls that match for the season in this great, like, shocking pop art pink, green, and white. So Preppy's coming back for us for 2026. Which I absolutely adore. That was really big for me when I was younger, and it seems to really have resonated with everyone at this point. We've noticed that it's done exceedingly well. And then we did, for one of our next drops, our color stories was like a black and silver group and then a navy and red group. So very traditional colors, but just done in a way that is very traditional, but with a kick to it. It's got something that makes it really exciting and cute. And that's where we're headed. So I don't want to be absolutely crazy off the mark. I want to make something that someone's going to pick up and go, oh, I really love this. I can wear this to this, this, and this, as opposed to I can only wear this on the course.
I want to, for people to sort of have a better understanding of kind of how this works for you. I don't think people really, they think, okay, well, fall fashion, but you're actually starting this well in advance. It's not like you're starting the month before. You're starting months ahead of time, if not even, the previous year, and getting ready for next season's collection. How do you guard against, because again, I know you're looking at trends and things like that, but for instance, like, fashion kind of went from traditional colors and, blues, reds, that sort of thing. And then you started seeing more pastel colors coming in. Then you see a mixture, a blend. Now it's sort of moving back to more of a traditional colors, as you just pointed out. How do you guard against? Because I mean, you've got things coming out, and let's say, okay, for 2026, you're going to more traditional colors. What happens by the time the line comes out and people start saying, well, I want to start wearing pastels again, or some, I mean, I know I'm just trying to make it simple as possible, but how do you guard against that? Because that's got to happen from time to time, where by the time your line's coming out, and I know it's not just for you, but for everybody, that things, because they're changing so fast, how do you avoid, I guess, that, or I guess it's just the luck of the draw?
Well, it is a little bit of luck of the draw. It's a lot of research, but Pantone puts out color stories and color popular colors that will be for the season a couple of years before.
Okay.
So we look at all of those and we take those into consideration for us. So we can't always use the colors that they're pushing, but we can use a form of the color, or one of a tone of the color that they are introducing. Sure. So basically, that's what a lot of designers follow, because that keeps us in the trend. But it also, if you know how to use it for what you're doing. So for golf, you really want to keep things a little bit more bright, a little bit more fun and easy to coordinate with what you already have in the closet. So those are my thoughts when I see it. So yes, it's sometimes it's a big like step into the unknown. But most of the time, if you do your research enough and well enough in advance, because we really have the collection down a year in advance. And you have to remember, it takes like 3 months to make fabric. Yeah. It takes another couple of months to produce the collection overseas. And then we have to ship it here. And that's could be anywhere from 3 weeks to a month and a half on water. So there's a lot of movement, a lot of logistics that go into how to do the collection. And that's something you have to be really conscious of, especially if we're doing anything so for private label or anything along those lines, because you have to be really conscious of when those garments have to be in the stores. So there are a lot of research articles out there that help us along the way. You just have to kind of make sure you do your research. Again, it's research. It's they don't tell you that in school. They always try to tell you that it's really fun and that there's all kinds of stuff that you can do, and it's exciting, and there's all this recognition, but it really is, it comes down to research, and you spend a lot of time with fabrics and colors and trying to figure out what how to put them all together to make this collection work. And that's when the magic happens. Yeah, when it all comes together.
Well, and that's why people don't. The reason I mention that is because people don't really understand. It's like with any business, you have your R&D department, for equipment and things like that. And I mean, they're spending years in preparation for products that may be coming out, and you guys are doing the same. And that's why I wanted people to have a little bit of an understanding, because if you've got something that's coming out for spring of 2026, it's not actually coming out in spring; it's actually coming out before in ahead of. So then when you back it up, several months for doing the research and getting the product and then getting it over and then trying it out and yay, nay, whatever. And you have to kind of go back sometimes. I mean, you could be looking as you said, a minimum of 6 months to a year before, yes. Right? Is that, I mean, again, it might vary for certain components. And maybe some seasons, because you're always making some changes, some seasons may not require as much change, because trends maybe are not moving as much. I mean they are moving quite a bit, but so you have some flexibility. But I don't think people really realize how much, like you said, preparation and how much research goes into this. They just see the clothes in the online or in the stores or what have you, and I don't think they fully appreciate what goes on behind the scenes. There's a lot of testing, there's a lot of checks and balances that have to be done before a line comes out. And it's just always fascinating to me when I see that, and I see companies like Swing Control and what you have to go through just so that the ladies can look good out in the golf course. And I'm not forgetting the guys, because I know you do have some guys
we do
line as well. I'm hoping that you're going to increase that as time goes on. We need to look good too. We're tired of you guys always getting the better of the mix, and we're always sort of schlepping around looking like a bunch of old rusty old dogs or something on the golf course. So we need you to step it up a little bit at Swing Control for us guys. But no, you guys have got some great stuff. So what's the most challenging part? I know the research is difficult. You talked about that. What's the most challenging part of your job, do you think? And what's the most rewarding part?
The most challenging part of my job is the start, is getting started. And everything kind of ruminates in my head for a while before I start. I've been thinking about it or seeing it, and before I can even put it into the computer and get my drawings down, it takes a while to kind of put that all together. So the hardest part is really sitting down and going, okay, put it on paper, see how this looks. Like the welt pockets with the contrast color. That was a really good idea until it wasn't. So it's really that's the hardest part, getting started, getting the samples in, checking them, making sure they fit properly, all of that. The most rewarding part is actually seeing people that I don't know wearing the product and loving it. The most rewarding part is talking to people and saying, you know what, I have been wearing Swing Control since 2015. It is a hidden gem. It's got a cult following, and I love it. And if you know, you know. And I was taken aback by that, because I was like, I didn't realize how important the overall fit and look was to women who have been wearing the collection for so long. And that is the most rewarding. And when you see joy in people's faces that they actually love something, or when they pick it up and they're like, oh my God, that is so beautiful, or that is just so much fun to wear, or I love the weight of the fabric, or the fabric feels so amazing. And those things make me happy. Like that is just the culmination of the year and a half that it's taken to put the collection together. It could take 2 weeks just to find a button that you really like, or that works. A zipper. I mean, all of those things, all of the trims are kind of like the icing on the cake. Those are all the pieces that really pull it all together. So that takes a long time to work with. So when you see it all come together and you see people wearing it and you see the joy that it brings, that overrides everything else.
Yeah, it's the attention. You raised some really good points there. The attention is in the detail. I mean, it's not just you're slapping things together and it's material and that. I mean, everything from the buttons to, as you said, the zipper and other components as well. I mean, there's a lot of thought process that goes into that, because again, it's not just about being comfortable. It has to look good. And I think, would this be, I guess, a fair and accurate statement that even though you guys typically would consider yourself a golf fashion company, it's really evolved more than that, because it's almost a lifestyle now. As you said, it's no longer just, for the golf course. You kind of talked about this earlier, and you've mentioned this obviously previous times you've been on the show, where swing control has now become not just, okay, here's what we got for the golf course, but you can wear all or a combination of these things in your business life, in your personal life, going out for dinner, getting together with the girls for drinks or whatever the case may be. So is it fair to say then that you guys are not just a golf fashion company anymore, but you're really a lifestyle brand?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, we are. It is definitely lifestyle. It is part of the way I design is that one season blends into the next. So there's no pieces that don't work together, or that they can't find another piece that doesn't work together. So that's what's really been fun with members and teams. So they can always, the women can have these great team looks, and then they can change them out for the next season, but you still have a shirt that works with the bottom, or a bottom that works with a new shirt.
Sure.
So all of those things are really well thought through and thought out. So we just want to, for instance, I wore a pair of fall 24, my first collection, fall 24, the snakeskin pants that we did, the print, the other day to the office with a button down shirt. And one of my colleagues was like, "Oh my God, are those ours?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course they are." And I was like, what do you think? And they're like, "That is so cool. They look great." And I'm like, "I know, this is the idea. They're still really comfortable to wear on the course, but I can wear them to the office." And people are like, "Wait a minute," they're double checking it to say, they obviously know our collection, but when you wear it in a different way,
Right.
it creates more interest. So we are absolutely more than just a golf collection.
Yeah, and I think that's what I've noticed has really changed a lot, because I go down, as I know you guys do, to the PJ show every year in Orlando, and I look at what people are wearing, and I look at from season to season, and again, obviously, the women's apparel side of things is much bigger in every demographic. I mean, it's not just golf; it's everywhere. And again, that's probably why you guys all look so great, and we look like a bunch of trolls. But
Don't
um,
say that.
no, what I mean. I'm kidding. But it's just the diversity of what I see, and every year it's just the same thing. I mean, I've been to your booth and that down there, and I just see every season it's something different. It's like, wow, how do they keep coming up with this stuff? I mean, it's just amazing. I give you and your team credit for working so hard behind the scenes to just make it, it different. And so again, it goes to your staff, it goes to the other team members, and ownership in that as well, to say, okay, we want to put our best foot forward every season. And yeah, we might have started out one way, but we're evolving into something different. Well, not, forgetting our roots, if you will. I mean, again, what I'm referring to is obviously a golf fashion, but again, becoming more of a lifestyle brand that people can wear things. And golfers today, I mean, I can look back, a decade or so ago, and you would go to the golf course in, one outfit, and then you would, go and clean up and whatever, you'd wear something different. And now, with the way golf is, and especially with the clothing, because it is moisture absorbing and it's even repelling now in some ways, you're not coming out feeling like a wet rat, because you're out heating that, you're coming out still very refreshed, and like you did when you went to the golf course in the morning. And so again, people are more comfortable wearing these, clothes in different environments. Again, throwing a jacket on if it's cooler out, or throwing, maybe changing tops, but again, keeping the same pants, or vice versa. So there's a lot of versatility in that. So that's got to make you guys feel extra proud, you know, uh, as you go through the season, to be able to see the diversity of how your clothing is being worn. And just as you pointed out, the young lady who saw you wearing, a pant that you had from a few years ago, and saying, wow, is that one of ours? Like, that just got to really, send the message home, right?
Absolutely. It is. It was really funny. We both laughed, and just a change of shoes would make a difference in the pants. You'd be surprised at what we wear at the office. So since even though we're a fashion brand and we have two other lines under our header, you'll often see everybody in the office with jeans and Converse and a t-shirt on.
Sure.
The dress code, because we don't see a lot of buyers in the office, the dress code is very casual. So it is funny when one of us does wear something that's a little bit more dressy than normal. Everyone takes notice, and then they'll take even more notice if it was actually a piece
One of
from
yours.
one of our previous collections. Yes.
Right.
So it's always fun to see that. But yes, of course, it's important because even at the office, you're sitting behind a desk all day or you're up and moving around. And we have a very large space in our office building. So it's a very long walk between, say, my office where I'm located to the main office. So we're always moving around and walking around. So you want to make sure that they're really, those pieces are really comfortable.
Mhm.
So part of my trying on every single sample is also wearing it all day to see whether it wrinkles, to see whether it is comfortable all day, to see whether the knees stay the same shape. All of those things are very important. And I found that the airspun pants that we created, everyone was like, oh, not so sure about how this was going to go, like how we were going to take it, because most of our pants are pretty structured. They have quite a bit of stretch, but they're still quite a bit structured. These are very lightweight and pull on, and they're so cute. So they're really comfortable to wear with sneakers or with like shoes, regular shoes. And I love that. I think that's really fun to wear at the office. So that to me is the crossover. That's how I know that it's going to work. That's how I know that this is going to stay in the collection, or that the print really works, because everybody in the office is like, oh, I really love that print. Now, we're here in our office, we're very particular. If they don't like something, they're going to let you know that
Right.
this is not going to work.
Yeah.
And I often get, because we have two other collections under our header, I often get like the production team going, oh, Nancy, what are you thinking? And I'm like, but I really like it. What, like this works with this. And then they understand.
Sure.
But nobody's shy to say what they think and how they feel about something. So it has to pass the muster in our office before it can ever go out the door.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense, because you don't want to, and again, it's constructive criticism is really what it is. And you want that. You want to invite that, especially in a business like yours, because you don't want to release a line and then find out afterwards, like, oy, like that's what I was alluding to earlier. Is that okay? Not so much this one. You want to get that feedback, the constructive feedback, because then you can pivot, you can make changes, and you want to
Absolutely.
obviously rely on what your customers think and the direction you're going. And, some maybe don't like a lot of change, but some, do want to see new and fresher prints and things like that. So there's a lot involved. As we get ready to wrap up, I want to ask you this final question. And I know you obviously are always looking ahead, and you may not necessarily look this far ahead, I don't know, but where do you see, because as I alluded to in the beginning, with technology and with trends going on, the world is just moving at a fast pace. Where do you see the evolution of fashion, particularly where you guys are concerned, 5 years out from now? What's going to be the big changes do you foresee coming in the future, in what you're doing? Is it just more materials, different materials, better materials, stronger, whatever the case may be? Or do you see a major shift in how the fashion is put together? I mean, what do you see happening, or not at all? Is it just going to kind of keep plodding along season to season? How do you see it in 5 years?
I think that there's going to be a few aspects of it. I do think that there'll be some traditional fabrics that will still be in the collection, because those are things that are very popular still, and they've been popular for so long that people really, really like them. But I also think that there's going to be parts of the collection that are going to change, as far as, say, the seam sealed parts of it. So instead of having it be sewn by thread, we have a seam sealing. So the fabrics are moisture wicking, or excuse me, water repellent. And,
Right.
We're going to go into more outerwear. So I'd like to head us into that direction. One. Two, I think that we'll probably see a lot more dresses. I could be wrong, but I think that it's getting very slowly moving into that direction, but they're so comfortable to wear. and they look so nice on everyone. I think that's starting, the whole outlook of skirts or pants are starting to move in that direction as well. So there's a bunch of different components. And I think as far as fabric is concerned, the most important is it's really just a hand feel and comfort. So as far as yarns and threads, that's always evolving. But the basics of it are going to be just that it's moisture wicking, that it's UV protectant, and we'll see a lot more of that too. Longer sleeves so we can cover ourselves from the sun. Lighter weight, but still functioning garments. All of those things. So it's not just one area that we'll see change. I think all areas are going to change, or the structure will be a bit different. But we'll still have our basic. And then we'll just move forward from there. But I think you'll see from us more outerwear. I think we're headed in that direction. I think there's definitely a market for it. I know that we do really well with our quilted jackets and our vests. So that's something I'm really looking into. Again, dresses, looking into those as well. I love them. I think they're really beautiful, and I think they make everybody look really nice. So we're going to continue in line, and we're going to grow with the product. We're going to grow with what we're seeing in the market, and we'll evolve with what's happening. But it won't go in one direction. It'll grow in multiple directions.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you. I think you're going to see a lot of changes. There's always going to be sort of the core, fashion that people will stick with, that lasts the decades. And then you're going to see obviously new changes along the way. And it's going to be interesting to see where things are, even 5 years, even 2 years out. I mean, things are just rapidly moving at such a quick pace. So it's going to be interesting to see that. But always interesting to have you on the show. And it was great to sort of unofficially meet you face to face, if you will. And I appreciate coming and sharing some of the latest things happening at Swing Control. You guys, I think, have a great company. And again, for those of you who have not been up to Montreal, get yourselves up there. It's if nothing else, go up and visit Nancy at Swing Control. All right, I want to thank all of my guests for joining me tonight. Special thanks to Jim Endicott and Jamie Leno Zimron, for doing a great job in the Coach's Corner panel segment a little bit earlier, and also a special thanks to my travel expert Robert Kaufman and tonight's featured travel guest Scott Cowan, the executive director of golf at Wynn Golf Club in Las Vegas. And then last but not least, of course, my featured guest of the evening, Nancy Robitaille from Swing Control. Don't forget to tune in each and every week. And if you want to see this episode and others, visit our YouTube channel, iGolf Sports, or on Spotify.com. And if you want to listen to the audio version later, it'll be available at Spreaker.com, or basically wherever you listen to podcasts. But don't forget to subscribe to the channels as new episodes drop weekly. But thank you, everybody. Have a great weekend. I will see you next week right here on Golf Talk Live. God bless everybody.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this week's broadcast of Golf Talk Live. We'd like to thank this week's Coach's Corner panel, and a special thank you to tonight's guest. Remember to join Ted every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. Central on Golf Talk Live. And be sure to follow Ted on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're interested in being a guest on Golf Talk Live, send Ted an email at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.